Welcome back to Ride JBI. This is JB. Today we finished a suspension custom build on this 2022 Honda CRF450R Showa suspension. This was revalved to our JBI suspension SoCal Hills Spec. This spec is a lot stiffer than our motocross settings, but not quite as stiff as our FMX/Supercross settings. Reason being is for people that like to go out and free ride in the hills, they don't need suspension as stiff as a FMX or Supercross setting, because a lot of times the jump faces or the lead ups to the jumps are all bumpy and rutted out. So instead of giving them a bike that is overly stiff and going to be a handful, we have found a setting that is still a lot stiffer than a standard motocross setting, but it still has a good amount of comfort and compliance. So that way, when this rider is out in the hills, sizing up some natural terrain jumps, if the lead up is all bumpy and beat up, the suspension is still going to handle well during that lead up. So that was the main driving force behind our SoCal Hills settings that we developed at Ride JBI. We saw a big need for it, and it did not seem like it was being fulfilled well by other tuners on the market. Either we're giving them settings that were too soft for hills riding, or in my opinion, way too stiff. As you can see, this also is a custom build and coat as well. The upper fork tubes have our JBI blood red anodize. The lower fork tubes received our JBI chameleon coat. The fork lugs have our JBI Cerakote, and they are topped off with some JBI titanium gold bolts. The Showa shock has JBI Cerakoted parts, such as the shock body, the preload rings, and the rebound clicker clevis assembly. The bumper cup, we had anodized black. The shock shaft has our JBI DLC coat, along with our JBI bottom out bumpers. That is this black piece here. The shock spring was powder coated white. We also anodized the high speed adjuster housing on the compression adjuster. We made that black. And then lastly, we also anodized the bladder cap right here. So that is all the aesthetic improvements we did on this custom coating suspension build. Ride JBI has also tested, tuned, and developed many other suspension settings for these Honda CRF models. We have tested, tuned, and developed suspension for all the various types of off-road riding. We have motocross setups, Supercross, Arena Cross, and Freestyle Motocross. If you'd like Ride JBI to do your suspension, please give us a call or send us an email. We can discuss the year, make, and model bike that you have, what options are available, and which setup would be most advantageous for you. All JBI suspension services and parts can be found at ridejbi.com. Before we go, we'll do one more pass over this beautiful custom build suspension. I really like the white spring. I feel like it does a good job contrasting the rest of the shock. It helps really make the other colors pop as well. These custom builds are always a lot of fun to do. We don't get to do a lot of them. Most of our business is doing revalves on suspension. And again, that's the most important part, is making the suspension handle well. But it is a lot of fun when people call us and say, hey man, I got an idea. I want to do this custom build. I want to achieve this certain aesthetic, and we want you to help us make it happen. All right, you guys, thank you for watching, and happy holidays.